Hi everyone, how are we getting on? It's Friday's morning briefing, the final morning briefing of the week. Apologies, we're a few minutes late for those of you signed on at 10 a.m, raring to go. You have no idea the stress I have been through over the last 7 minutes, but we're here and we've got a story to tell. Not really. Tony, Ryan, how are you guys? How's it going?
All good, all good. Yeah, all things
That's it.
considered, I think so.
Yes.
All things considered.
Yeah, all good.
Ryan?
Can't complain whatsoever. Well, I could complain, and I probably will complain in this morning briefing. But as far as introductions go, I'm absolutely fine. It's Friday, got the football tomorrow, and it's Brendan Rodgers' birthday as well. So
It is.
it's a time to celebrate, I guess.
Did you see Celtic tweeted this? He said, happy birthday to Brendan Rodgers, or just happy birthday Brendan Rodgers, it was actually, cake emoji. That emoji, I don't know what that one is, but it's a positive one. To many more victories, shared smiles, and continued success. Here's to you, boss. Beautiful. It was
Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing
Burns
with that
night
as
yesterday, and even Robert Burns couldn't have written something as beautiful as that, Tony.
I wouldn't have thought so. No. Yes, indeed, it was Burns Day yesterday, wasn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
We'll gloss over that. There are plenty of things. In fact, if I'd have written my real thoughts, I'd probably be barred from Celtic Park. To be fair, I think a lot of us were thinking a lot of stuff yesterday when Brendan spoke et al. But we'll get into that as we go along, won't we?
So what were the main takeaways from what he said? Obviously, I think the first 5 or 6 questions from the press conference were about Matt O'Reilly. To be honest, we only needed the first question. I think it was like the response that we all wanted to hear. The only response that we could have had from the main kind of figurehead at the club, football wise, that Matt O'Reilly isn't for sale. I think we all agree that Matt O'Reilly can't be sold right at this point, kind of regardless of the fee. Just given his importance to the team this season, there's a fair chance he goes in the summer, Ryan. But right now, he can't be sold when we're in the midst of a tight title race, and he won't be sold.
Yeah, the cheapest you could sell him probably at this moment in time, given what's on the line, is 60 million, and I'm not even joking when I say that. That's what he is worth, because he is the difference between Celtic winning and losing the league this season, in my opinion anyway. Goals, assists, overall plays, work off the ball, his work on the ball. He's absolutely priceless at the moment, and Celtic wouldn't have enough time, quite simply, to replace him in the time that they would have left if they were to sell Matt O'Reilly. I think he's a phenomenal player. He's having a phenomenal season. I think he's a shoe-in to be player of the year at this point in time if he keeps up his numbers the way they're going. He's unsellable at this point in time. I think it would spark fury if it was even close to happening. So it was so good that Celtic came out the day before and kind of reported it to areas that he was not for sale, and then Brendan Rodgers took the first 5-6 minutes of his press conference saying he's not going anywhere. I totally agree with you, Hamish. The first question would have been enough. I think the media were just trying to find an answer somewhere in the first 3-4 questions. And Brendan Rodgers, he's been in this game a while. He wasn't giving them anything whatsoever. He said, it doesn't matter if a good offer came in, he's going nowhere. So I think that's as conclusive as you can get from Brendan Rodgers. And yeah, he's so important. He's going nowhere, and thank goodness for that.
Like, Tony, horrendous injury aside, which obviously, touch wood, doesn't befall Matt O'Reilly, his value is only going to go up. He's only going to improve as a player at Celtic. He is not the kind of guy who's going to, throw the toys out of the pram and demand a move at this stage. He's just not. He's a good guy. He's committed to Celtic. As I say, his value is only going to be higher in the summer, I would say. Yeah. So there's just, there's no sense right now.
I did like Ryan's evaluation of the priceless 60 million. I was quite taken with that, you know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, I think, to be honest, I don't think Brendan Rodgers had to answer that yesterday. Celtic should have come out as soon as Sky Sports reported it and made a statement themselves and said, and didn't have to put the manager under that kind of fire in terms of, there was 5 or 6 questions asked of Brendan Rodgers. Thought he dealt with that part of it very emphatically on behalf of Celtic and the board, but Celtic should have nailed it straight away. That was my frustration. they let the manager have to sit there and deal with it all, and you knew exactly what was coming. But the minute Sky Sports were reporting this, Celtic should have, the higher ups at Celtic should have addressed it straight away. Now, we're all realists. We all can see the writing on the wall here, and we're probably thinking that Matt O'Reilly will certainly stay the summer. He's in a happy place. They're forever being told he's in a happy place. The player tells you himself he's in a happy place. He likes working with Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers likes working with him. So, yeah, I'm glad they nailed it emphatically, but it should have been done 24 hours before, in my personal opinion. And, I like the way Brendan handled that side of it too. And, yeah, Matt O'Reilly is a consummate professional, and he is worth a hell of a lot to Celtic, and his value will increase by the summer. And then all bets are off, aren't they, to the highest bidder, I think.
Yeah. The club did, after the press conference, put a tweet up with the quote basically from Brendan Rodgers, which is kind of an unusual thing to do. The club kind of usually don't tackle speculation and stuff like that. Obviously they put the press conference up, and what happens in a press conference is unless there's something out of order asked or said, they'll cut that, but the vast majority of it will be aired, but they don't actually kind of post articles about it, whereas they did that yesterday. So they're clearly trying to bank on the good feeling of us keeping Matt O'Reilly. I guess the kind of the other part of this is that we could do with, and I'm like a broken record here, but we need players in, and we've only got a few days now. I mean, we've spoken about striker, all that. You can maybe chat about that if you want. I think you guys feel stronger about that than me. Left back for me, now it's been a priority, even more so now that Greg Taylor's going to miss a couple of weeks, we think. Ryan, first of all, what are we doing at left back for the game tomorrow against County?
It's got to be Liam Scales for me, and that's just as an emergency cover at left back. Bernabei is not the answer. He's not been the answer for about 2 years since he joined the club, unfortunately. I'm quite critical of him on this platform. I seem to bring him up absolutely every single day. But
I'm obsessed with him. I heard that.
Yeah,
rent free and all that.
Yeah, absolutely not in a good way. I just think it's been a massive failure of a signing. He just brings about too much risk for me. He's got no defensive awareness. He can't pass the ball.
A good chance to put him in the shot window, though. Andrew saying.
I don't like Celtic taking that risk and putting him in the team. I'd much rather have Liam Scales there. I think it's about an interesting one with Liam Scales, because when he was playing as a left back under Ange Postecoglou, he had to play inverted. So he had to play as a midfielder, and that might have not been his strong point. I know he's played well at centre-back this season. Maybe changing him into traditional full-back, at least for a couple of games, would be okay. Playing against an imposing team in Ross County, I know they'll only have a few chances in the game, but it's a good opportunity for him to stay in the team. It's also a good opportunity to keep Mike Nawrowski in the team as well. I wouldn't want Celtic to drop him after playing the past 3-4 games on the trot. And Carter Vickers coming back as well. So I'm pretty much naming my predicted 11 for tomorrow already, but I think it's got to be Liam Scales at left back. I would maybe make a case for Mitchell Frame, but he played in a friendly against Southampton a couple of days ago. Don't know if the turnarounds are maybe a wee bit too quick for him.
Come on, what age is he?
18.
Going soft here. 18.
Professional footballer, Hamish, exactly. Correct.
But 18 as well, Tony.
Yeah, should be fit as a... What is that? Fit as a butcher's dog. I've never seen a butcher's dog, to be fair, but it is.
But what I would say is
I'm sure he's fit.
Celtic shouldn't be in this position. We all know that Celtic shouldn't be in this position. This should have been the chance for the club to blood in the new left back that they were going to sign in this window. It was a position that was in dire need of reinforcement, somebody to push Greg Taylor. Now all of a sudden he's out for the next 2, 3, 4 games, you would say. So yeah, it's a nightmare scenario, but are you really surprised at this point in time? It's come back to bite them for the fact that they've not done their business. I'm
very wary of sitting here on this video almost every night, this month saying, we need to do business. Where is the business? As I say, I am like a broken record, but I cannot believe that a left back hasn't been signed so far this month, and I cannot fathom the possibility that one isn't signed before the deadline. I am pretty sure a left back will be signed, but at this stage I'm kind of thinking it might be a loan signing, and our track record with full backs coming in on loan isn't great. Tony, what's your take on the whole situation?
Hamish, somebody has to, I seen yesterday, someone has to make this all make sense, don't they? Because they've got 5 days, and you and I know they're going to spin this. We kept Matt O'Reilly and maybe got Rocco Vata to sign a new deal and tell you that it's good news week without anyone else coming in. I like to try and read between lines, connect dots and all that, and saying I wasn't filled with real confidence that there was anybody else from what the manager was saying coming in. I think they'll get a loan deal at a push, possibly for a left back. But it's sod's law that a left back gets injured, isn't it? When, we've not been crying out for a left back this season, been crying out for one since last season, and arguably the season before that. So it just depends what way you look at it. So this is something, as you say, I think most Celtic supporters are exasperated by it all. And I think up until yesterday, up until they sort of nailed the Matt O'Reilly speculation, lots of fans are disillusioned by it all, aren't they? It's certainly been the most underwhelming transfer window in a long time. They have 5 days to do something about this, but I'm staggered like you. I mean, I'm more greedy. I still wanted a striker as well. So a left back and a striker in this window was what I thought would be the minimum requirements, and neither have arrived. They try to, and as you say, they do strange things like put up the whole of Brendan Rodgers' conference yesterday in terms of, the managers answered this emphatically. Just strange goings on at the club, and that's why the Celtic fans just don't trust those in those higher up positions at all when it comes to these kind of matters. And the manager's still banging on about he knows what he needs to take the club forward, and he trusts the people at the top. You're taking the manager at his word as well, aren't you? But my goodness, just so disillusioned and underwhelmed, I think, by it all, aren't the Celtic fans? Exasperated too.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating as fans when you want players in and players don't come in. I am always wary of the other side, and I'm just keen to, people watching this live, let us know in the comments if you do feel differently to us. Maybe there is a comment here actually that I just starred there that I'll read out from Brian saying, Brendan Rodgers said yesterday it's hard to bring in quality. No point in bringing in someone just for the sake of it. Too much money wasted already this season. I think that's a fair point. We don't need more nonsense brought in like we saw for much of the summer. But you would hope that the recruitment team could do their job and bring some quality in. But just if there's any other opinions, anyone feeling fine about things, playing devil's advocate, Tony, the squad's still strong enough to win this league. I mean, does anyone disagree with that?
No, I don't disagree with that in the slightest. It is still strong enough to win this league, but you are in a
could be stronger
race. Yeah, and and a bit of forward planning would have put you in fine fettle going in, because the 4 games over the festive period were good. Get great results, come back against Bucky Thistle and did a professional clinical job. Yeah, I don't dispute that, but certainly with a couple of additions, it would just have lifted everybody again, wouldn't it? But Ryan was talking, because I was saying about, in terms of Rangers playing Hibs the other night, I said I don't see any other teams taking points off Rangers or Celtic at this moment in time. So it's going to come down to a straight dogfight, isn't it, between the two in the 2 games that are left, assuming Rangers win their game in hand, which you think they will. So it's going to be 2 points in it, isn't it?
You do back us, don't you, over them in those matches?
Of course,
based on this season.
Yeah, based on this season. But it's too close to call, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think a couple of more additions would have given everybody kind of more confidence and, a spring in the step. And you think, yep, come on. Because Rangers fancy this title race. And so it's up to Celtic to match that, isn't it, as well? And I think they will. They've still got enough quality there to see it through, but it's a lot tighter than most people imagine.
Right.
I'm not as trusting with Celtic in particular away games and stuff like that as well. I just think the rollercoaster trajectory this season could continue. You know, if they don't keep up this good form, I know they've won, 5 games on the bounce now, which was really good. One of them was against Bucky Thistle, you'd expect that, but the 4 games before the winter break, that was good. I just worry about Celtic in individual games. I worry that if they can't break down a low block, then they'll drop points. You know, that Hearts game still stings me, the way that they played. I do still think they've got that sort of performance or lack of in them. Whereas on the other side of the city, I feel like they get through those games a bit easier. When it goes to Celtic v Rangers, I'm confident that Celtic can turn up and match them and better them and beat them. They have done so twice this season, but you know, in some other games, I'm not as confident as what I would have been maybe last season. And that's just down to the roller coaster element of this whole season. It's a bit of a crazy one. I'd just like Celtic to be consistent for the next 5, 6, 7 games, or the rest of the season, if that's what they want to do. If they want to be completely consistent, win every game, absolutely fine by me. But they just, I always feel like there's an element of doubt and an element of trepidation when watching Celtic this season. I always think they're just on the cusp of a bit of a shocking result. That's just my thoughts anyway. I had that thought before the Hearts game, and I was proved right on that occasion. But yeah, I trust them against Rangers. I trust them to up themselves for the big opportunities in the big games. But there's other games in which I think, against maybe the mid-level teams, especially away from home, that I think Celtic are a bit vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. I do think we'll see an improved Celtic after the break, big time. I think there's a few reasons for that. I think the team have had their real setbacks this season. That's what I believe. I think that period, horrendous period, when we lost 2 games in a row. Hearts beat us 2-0 at Celtic Park, and they deserved it. It would have been very easy for the team to fall off after that. And the fact they fought back at that stage when the wheels were really coming off has filled me with a lot of confidence. Rodgers knows what he's doing. He's not lost the team at all. The team are still totally buying into everything, and we have a number of players back as well. And I think the team will have been good and improved again for having like a proper period training all together, because we've not really had that with all our signings in the summer. This will be the first kind of 2 or 3 week block where we've had proper training together. So I think you're going to see a really consistent Celtic side. I think we'll win our next 5 or 6 matches, maybe more than that, and I think we'll kick on. And I actually think Rangers will drop some points in there as well. I think our class will show in the end, but it doesn't take away from our frustration at wanting another couple of players, because everything I'm saying there could be even more in our favour if we bought a left back and a forward.
It's the one thing I do trust, Hamish. I trust the manager implicitly.
Yeah.
To get a tune out of those players. Right, I really do, and I'm firmly behind that. I hope you're right in terms of Rangers. Time will tell on that. But I do. That's still one thing for me that is the silver lining and fills me with confidence. The manager knows what he's doing, and I'm all in on him, and I'll give him a chance to show his quality and let the players show their quality. As long as, touchwood, they don't get any other injuries to any key players, and that's another thing. So I just, like you, another couple of players would have had me feeling a lot better and a lot more confident about it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. We've got 6 days. You never know.
No, I know,
They will be working hard in the background, so you never know.
Your thought is what you were saying as well, but and what one of the commenters said to you, I just don't want it to be a rush job now. In terms of getting players in. If it has to be loans, so be it. But, I wouldn't even be, desperate to rush into get any loans. Because he's banged on about it has to be better than what we have. I just don't think with 6 days to go, you're going to get better signings than what Celtic have. And better loan players. That's short-termism, isn't it? So...
Not with the money that Celtic are willing to pay. If they put a wee bit more money, then they probably would get the players in that they could get. This is their scouting job. They scout all season. It irks me a wee bit. They've got all season.
See that, mate.
To scout. They've got all season to scout these players, and they've got this window in which they can actually do something about it. Stop gambling with the league. and just bring in the players that are necessary to win the league, because you'll make the money back by getting into the Champions League. I don't understand the gamble.
Yeah, I think that's where virtually every Celtic fan feels at the moment. But here, that's where we're at. We do have a quote from Brendan Rodgers yesterday to do with the kind of money that Celtic won't be spending. We'll come on to that in a wee second. Before then, just a few comments. Paul saying, we need 4 signings, we're getting 1. Comment in here from AJSC Tech. Rodgers handles the press very well yesterday. I much prefer his press handling compared to Ange. Ange had that weird striking sarcasm. I prefer Rodgers' more professional, clinical style with the press. Yeah, he's quite different to Postecoglou, isn't he? He doesn't kind of get as kind of sarky. I mean, it's well documented. I love Ange, but he could get quite kind of difficult with the media. Rodgers has that in his locker as well. There was one earlier in the season. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was when we played Atletico Madrid, and a reporter brought up their kit they were wearing, and he made a big comment about, I think it's a big deal. You're making a big deal out of it, type thing. So he can get that way, but in general, he's been really good. Patrick saying people will maybe appreciate Taylor a bit more in his absence, and Hazel saying the same thing could happen to Kyogo's happened to Taylor. We should have better cover, not going into games with fingers crossed. It's pathetic when we could buy cover easily. Just onto that Rodgers quote, guys. Did you see this? He's I think he might have been asked about Kelleher from Liverpool.
Yeah.
And he said it's very difficult. The money's there, but that won't happen. If you're bringing in a £20 million player, then you're taking a £20 million player's wages. That doesn't work here, sadly. We're not in that ballpark. I don't know if any Celtic fan is expecting the club to be buying players for 20 million, but 10 million? That's a more reasonable request. Not every signing 10 million, but, one a season at 10 million, the money we have in the bank. 10 million isn't even that much nowadays in football. Maybe it still is to Celtic, but we've spent 9 million in the past, 7 million in the past. Is that part of the frustration?
They had £7.5 million worth of defenders at one point that weren't getting on the bench. So if you're going to be spending that money, you might as well spend it on a player that's actually going to make the first team for most of the season. I think it's a weird one, because they seem to want to do that after having a player for a year. Maybe Celtic are now just in that ballpark that they'll take a player on loan for a year, and then maybe their optimum is about 6-7 million rather than the 10 million. I think Julian was 7.5, Edward was 9 million, but they could probably see the star quality from very early on in his Celtic loan career. I'd be absolutely fine with that. I do agree with him in the wage structure, because that is an important point. You don't just sign a player for 20 million and then they're there. You've got to pay them the 20 million worth in wages, or what you would ask for as a £20 million valuated player. I'd be all for having designated players, maybe having that one player that you designate a bit more money to, because he can be the difference maker in matches. But would that cause more problems than good? I'm not so sure. It's just all about pushing the boat out a wee bit. If Celtic can maybe not sign the £2-3 million, the £1-2 million players, and stick to the £4 or £5 million that are guaranteed to be successful in the team. You look at your potentially Bernardo, Palma's been a success. Nawrowski, when he's not been injured, has looked like he's going to be a success. Players like that, if you can add 4 or 5 of them to the team, then I think it'll improve it tenfold. But I think the time for these so-called projects is over now. It's time for Celtic to have players that are going to get into the first team. Make the projects your academy, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
I also think Martin O'Neill was buying players for 6 million 20 years ago, right? And just 25 years ago, right? So, Celtic should be still in that 7, 8, 9 million pound bracket, Hamish. I agree with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with Celtic going out and signing that quality of player. And again, those quality players will have a certain wage structure, but you won't have to bust yours. 10 and above, I think, for a club, I think they could go to 10 for maybe one marquee signing. I'm all on board with that, and let everybody know that's it. But I still think 6, 7, 8 million players aren't out with Celtic's remit and shouldn't be. And I think that's the kind of players they should be able to target and to entice to come to the club. I don't think that's unrealistic, and I don't think, and as I said yesterday, I think the Celtic supporters, I think they deserve better in that sense. And I agree with Ryan about the project type players, the £2-3 million players. I think we really do have to just put a kind of cap on that, and let's start searching out the quality that the manager wants, and going £7-8 million targeting those kind of players, because that's what Celtic need. Clearly, that's what they need.
Yeah. So what Callum McGregor's understood to be on roughly 30,000 a week, maybe slightly more, maybe 35-ish. I think Callum McGregor should be the highest paid player at Celtic as captain. But could you find a way to almost lift that ceiling a little bit to allow us a slightly higher caliber? That was a hope in the summer. I don't know if you guys remember when McGregor, Kyogo, a few other players signed contracts. The hope was, they're giving these guys larger contracts so that if a new signing comes in, they can be kind of given a larger contract and not kind of upset the morale or whatever between the players. That was a hope, and that obviously didn't play out. I don't think we're asking for like a lot as fans here. I just think in the summer there was just no real. It was like a scattergun type thing. It was like the 2011-2012 thing we did, where we just signed loads of players. The odd one was a Van Dijk or a Wanyama or a Fraser Forster. The majority were Banguras and Skepovic's and Chief Cheese, and it didn't work out. And I feel like we've kind of gone back to that, whereas I felt like this kind of couple of seasons before, it was much more, you had a much better feeling about a signing coming in and being a success. So I just want us to go back to that. I'm not asking for the club to spend all of the 70 million that we have in the bank. I'm just asking for, rather than signing, a couple of project players, sign a player who's going to come into the first team, has potential, can be sold on for more. We have the money there to do it. If we do that, I genuinely think we'll continue to win this league, because we have the best manager in the league, we have the best captain in the league by far, we have the best forward in the league, and we have brilliant players around them. If we can just add to that and keep pushing forward. And another thing, by the way, I know I'm kind of on my soapbox here, but I was looking at, there was a tweet going around, I don't know if you guys saw it, I don't think it was a viral tweet, but it was to do with I think UEFA had tweeted one of Kyogo's goals from the Champions League, and a lot of Celtic fans were looking at it. It was a goal against Atletico Madrid, and they were saying, like, what a brilliant goal that was. And when you actually think about those two home games, the Lazio game and the Atletico Madrid game, we were brilliant in those games. We were absolutely brilliant. I know we got 1 point from 6, but there is real potential in this team if we can just keep pushing forward and show a bit of ambition. We've got a brilliant manager there. We can be something special here. I don't feel the club are quite doing that at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with targeting. I'm not talking about reckless spending, as you say. You're not asking them to spend the 70 million. But see if you spent 20 million or 21 million on £7 million players, or two £7 million players and an £8 million player, 21, 22 million. Is that too much to ask? I don't think it is. And see if you target those kind of players in the positions that you want: left back, striker, possibly a goalkeeper. You could come up with some decent names there, couldn't you? You can come up with some decent players. And I think one of the commenters says, I don't think that Celtic are targeting £7-8 million players. That's my point. They should be, but they're clearly not, because they are going low with the targeting of the players. They are these £2 million, £3 million players. So I agree. This is all about ambition, isn't it? And the Russian roulette stance that they're playing with this 60 million in Champions League, it's just not sitting well with most of the Celtic supporter base.
Would you say that potentially the board have been scarred a bit by the Julian deal? Now I know they spent that was the last sort of big signing out with a loan for £7 million, £7.5 million. Had a good first season, done his ACL in the second season, and then lost the valuation of the player completely.
Even Julian, like, I know this is daft and it wasn't worth £7 million, but he scores the winner in the cup final against Rangers. He scores a winner against Lazio. I thought Julian was a good player in that first season, a big part of us winning the league that year. So, I mean, was Julian at 7 million? Was that, you wouldn't look at that and say it was a horrendous signing, would you? I know we didn't get the sell on, but
I think if you think of his performances on the pitch, he was absolutely fine. It's just the fact that he was off the pitch for so long with that injury, which was self-inflicted, but at the same time it was so unfortunate the way it came about. I just think with the valuation of the player at 7.5 million, you know, the fact that Celtic don't even think they got a fee for him, did they? Or did they get a couple of million for him?
I think that's just horrendous luck.
I know,
completely. The injury, you know, so that's kind of...
I'm just trying to get in the mind of the board.
A freak of nature. I think if they're going to be scarred, they would probably be more scarred over as one of the... Ayeti and Barkas, you know.
But like since like Julian, that happened a while ago. The injury, the two seasons, like 3 windows or 4 windows under Postecoglou, the business was really good. There was a clear ambition there, and then you went to the summer, and it was like we've gone from signing players on the 30th of December for the January window to signing players on like the 30th of January. It's frustrating, but anyway, sorry, final comment, Tony, and I want to chat a wee bit about County.
Well, I think under Postecoglou there seemed to be a clear transfer strategy, wasn't there? And they just seem to have abandoned that now under Rodgers, temporarily or whatever, but it's just not as clear as it was in the past couple of years. And it's a concern. I think you have to say that. I think most Celtic supporters are concerned by that, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's fair to say, just swiping through scrolling through the comments, that seems to be the general consensus. There is, you know, some alternative views as well. So, you know, people feel kind of strongly about this, obviously. Just injury update as we've covered. Greg Taylor won't be around for the game tomorrow, but Carter Vickers and Nicholas Kuhn will be. I think Rodgers said they will be involved as well, so we're going to see a debut, Ryan.
Looking forward to that. That's the thing I'm most looking forward to tomorrow. Probably, I think out of the two, Carter Vickers will start the game, Kuhn will be on the bench. You know, as far as I'm aware, Abad is staying at the club, so he'll be starting at right wing, you would imagine. Could be a good game, especially if Celtic are up by a couple of goals by the 60th, 70th minute. Give him 20 minutes to shine. There's some really big games coming up. There needs to be some rotation in those games, I would say. I know but at the same time, they've got 1 game a week for the next few. So it's good to have these options in and around. Abad will start the game, but I think Kuhn will have 20 minutes to come on and show what he can do. Really, really looking forward to seeing how he manages at Celtic, because by all accounts he seems a very exciting young player.
Tony, excited for tomorrow. Should be 3 points. County not in a great place, but you know, we can't afford to take anything for granted.
No, go straight at it. Hell for leather again. I just want the pedal to the metal and just go for the jugular and make a bright start, positive start. And yep, we're good to see Kuhn, see what he brings to the table. You know, see what tricks he's got up his sleeve. I want to see this speed that everybody talks about as well. He's meant to be lightning quick, so I'd like to see some evidence of that, and you know, you'll get a feel for it. I think it's a really good game for him to come on and make his mark. I'd like to see him get an assist or a goal if he can, just for his confidence levels and to hit the ground running. But yeah, I think that's, as Ryan says, that's one of the reasons it's worth turning up tomorrow to see the debut of Nicholas Kuhn. And if Cameron Carter-Vickers is back, then I've got a feeling that'll happen as well. In the defence, he'll come in with Narowski and maybe switch Liam Scales to left back.
Okay, is that the official prediction? That's both your predictions, isn't it? I'm going to say, yeah, that he might do that. Although I've got a sneaky feeling Bernabe might feature. I don't know. Positivity, Helen, 4-0 tomorrow. Quite positive, isn't it? Not as positive as Jerry though. 7-0 tomorrow. Yes, Jerry, that's the way we're going to finish the Friday morning.
A magnificent 7.
Correct. We'd love to see. It's been a while since we've seen a 7, hasn't it? What are you guys thinking? Prediction? Do you do predictions? I never asked you that.
We usually do them right before the game on the preview show, but I'm willing to put my neck on the line. I'm going to go for 3-0. I'm going to be a wee bit more conservative with a small c than I usually am. I'm usually quite confident in these, but as long as Celtic, I would celebrate no injuries as 3 points as well. To be honest with you, at this point in time, just a win and no injuries, and then move on to the next game.
I'll go 4-0. 4-0. I always go one up or one down, don't I, from you, Ryan? So I'll go 1-up, 4-0. Yeah.
We pick the same teams as well, Tony.
The
people that read the predicted lineups know that Tony and I are very, very similar in our prediction views, I guess.
Yeah, I'll agree with you, Tony. I think we'll win 4-0 tomorrow. Hopefully lots to talk about, and talk about it you two will before and after the game. I'll be back on Monday to talk about some more, maybe some transfer stuff there. I have a feeling Rodgers might have something to say after the game, maybe. Sometimes a bit more relaxed after we've won comprehensively, and the media will be poking him as they always tend to do. Right, we're going to head off. Thanks everyone for tuning in this Friday morning, commenting. Please give us a sub to the Celtic Way on YouTube. That would be appreciated. I need to do the shout out quickly. Well remembered, Hamish was just about to go there. Ryan, do you want to do the shout out for the website quickly along the bottom of the screen?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to support us even further, then please subscribe to the Celtic Way website. £4 for 4 months, £18 for a year. You'll be supporting top quality football journalism covering the club you love at celticway.co.uk/subscribe. On there this morning, there is a piece that I did comparing Rodgers with Postecoglou in both home games and away games. So using loads of different metrics on StatsBomb. If stats are your thing, then there's plenty of stats to look at in that piece. There will be a predicted 11 out later on today, so keep an eye out on that. And yeah, thank you, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're less than 100 subscribers away from 9,000, so please keep on subscribing. If you don't have an account, please make one and subscribe to us, and you'll get notifications as when we next go live.
Wow, that's a big ask. Please make an account if you've not got one. Risky business, but
there'll be people that don't have an account. Yeah, absolutely. But you've got to go big. Gives you notifications as to when we go live as well. So it's a win-win.
Who wouldn't want that? Video is brought to you by MPH Group. They're Scotland's award-winning family-run all-trade specialist, and they cover mainland Scotland. You know by now, if you're thinking of giving your home heating system a boost, MPH have an enticing Navian boiler winter promotion. You're talking top-tier efficiency with them. You'll also be getting a free Navian internet controller. Right, we're going to head off. Thanks, everyone. Chat to you very soon.